bum of the week is the Vikings defense. This week was hard to pick one because there were a bunch of players that didn't play well, but it was like, they didn't play bad enough to be like the bum of the week. And so I was looking at stats of various guys. Like the Vikings also was like, did Kirk Cousins play bad? No, Kirk Cousins played fine. Did Justin Jefferson play bad? No, Justin Jefferson played great. Looked at the Cowboys barely winning against the Texans. Like, did Dak Prescott play bad? I mean, he didn't play his best game, but he didn't really play that bad. And so I looked to try to find a bum of the week, and it is the Vikings. The Vikings are horrible. They allowed, I think, 34 points. They got 0 sacks, 0 forced fumbles, 0 fumble recoveries, 0 interceptions. They got zeros across the board on every factor. They allowed a ton of yards, and they allowed a ton of points. So Vikings defense is bum of the week, and I want to talk about the Vikings real quick because obviously they have the lowest point differential of the, quote, top-tier Super Bowl teams in the NFL right now. What do you guys think means for the Vikings? We'll go on to the Lions in a second because I know we all want to talk about that. But what about the Vikings? This defense that puts up no numbers against the Lions, which I understand, divisional opponent, Lions are hot right now, but the Lions aren't going to be better than anyone they play in the playoffs. They're not going to be better than the Cowboys or the Eagles that they play in the playoffs. It's like, when you get to the playoffs, they're all good teams. And so you can't be like, okay, well, like, the Lions are good, but it's like, yeah, they're going to play good teams in the playoffs and all the way up to the Super Bowl. Play the Bills or the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, they're going to get destroyed. They're going to get blown out. So, like, what do you guys think this means? Like, what does the defense need to do? Because at this point, you can't go make a trade. You can't go make a big signing. It's just a matter of figuring it the heck out. And they haven't been bad all year, but playing games like this, you can't afford that. You can't afford a single one of those in the playoffs. If you have even one bad quarter or one bad half in the playoffs, you are done and your season is over. And I know Vikings fans have been waiting for a long time for a Super Bowl ring, and this season is one of the ones that they think they can really go out and get it. So Vikings defense bum of the week. Hopefully you guys, every single one of you watches this show and acknowledges that you were bums this week, and you go out there next week and make it better. I'm not a Vikings fan, but for the Vikings fans, I want them to at least have a shot. So bum of the week.
I think first of all, I mean, just my thoughts on the defense. While Gion's looking at what he's going to say, I think a Ladybug could play better coverage than the secondary of the Vikings. I mean, it was atrocious. They just looked disorganized. To allow Jared Goff to pick them apart like that, and just have the game that he had. When again, right, the Lions are streaking, they're hot. MCDC is doing a fantastic coaching job, but there's just no excuse as a Vikings team that is as talented on paper as they look, to give this up. And I think this kind of highlights something that's been happening all season with their defense, where they have been, the sins of the defense have been covered up by the fact that the offense is so high powered that they have Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, and Kirk Cousins really picking up the slack. Adam Thielen, TJ Hawkinson picking up that slack that the defense has. And if they're in a close game, they can count on that offense that is so prolific to go and score them a touchdown if they're down by 3 points and win the game for them that way. So I think that it just kind of highlights something that it has been a chink in their armor so far, and hopefully they get it fixed. But I think at this point in the season, I don't really see the defense making a turnaround at all. So
all right, what about you, Dylan? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely, Frank. And this hasn't been something that's been happening just this season, last season as well. I'm looking at all the Vikings scores. I mean, dude, almost every game is a one-score game, or it's either a one-score game or they're getting blown out. The only people they've blown out this season so far are the Packers, and that was the first game of the season. But statistically, the Packers always lose their first game or something like that. But I mean, like, every game is close or one score. If they win, it's like a one-score win. And dude, I don't know what's up with this Vikings defense. And it's not just this year. Like I said, it was last year. But there are some teams where I would argue they should be blowing out, and their defense shouldn't have as much trouble stopping. I mean, if it were the Bills wouldn't have hard stopping, or Patriots. Whatever, there are certain teams that their defenses come out and they hold they hold the opposition to a certain score limit. Like I think they're number 1 or number 2 for points allowed. Because the Vikings just have their defense. Well, supposedly Cameron Dantzler is supposed to be back there, helping out the deep threat, but they're getting burned every single time, and it's not just once or twice; it's just every time. DJ Chark, shout out to you. Jameson Williams, shout out to you. They burned the corners, and it was just a one play Jared Goff toss. Jared Goff saw that the defense, that the corner couldn't stop him. These were plays, first play of the drives that were just getting into the end zone, and it isn't just the first time this happened. So I mean, I am hoping Vikings next upcoming draft, you guys invest in your defense because man, like this is kind of sad, dude. Like you can't have. I would say the Vikings are comparable with the Lions in that they have a high octane offense, but now that the Lions defense is getting healthier, they're showing up. Right now, the Vikings defense actually, for me, looks worse than the Lions defense.
Oh, I agree completely. I mean, especially, this is a direct comparison. This past week, and I mean, on paper, the Vikings are obviously better. Kirk Cousins, probably a better quarterback. Justin Jefferson, better than anyone on that freaking skills group on the Lions. Same thing with Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen, even though he's wide receiver 2, whenever he was a wide receiver 1, absolute monster. He's an absolute monster in the red zone. Adam Thielen always has been. T.J. Hawkinson obviously had his rivalry game, and they sucked. Dalvin Cook obviously a fantastic running back, and they just sucked. And I think I agree with both of you. I mean, I don't know what the Vikings defense needs to do at this point because they've played poorly all season. The only game that they really did good on paper was the Packers game in week 1. Even that wasn't even like, oh, they did crazy, got 10 interceptions. It was just a decent game. So I don't really know what they do with this.
The Packers having struggles with Christian Watson playing terribly, Aaron Rodgers playing terribly, and that was just making them look good. Where if you play a team like the Packers, who's been just absolute dumpster fires, of an offense all season, that's bound to make the defense look good. So
yeah. So super quick before we move on, we talk about the Lions every week, so I don't want to just beat the horse dead, but I want to brag about the Lions for a second. I think they're making the playoffs. I said it a few weeks ago. I'm going to say it again. They're making the playoffs. They have continued to show out. In the last, Jared Goff has not had a turnover since week 9 against Green Bay. He threw 1 interception, and then that was one interception in the last since week 8. Because week 8 he had no turnovers either. So since week 8 he had 0 week 8, 1 interception week 9. Week 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14, 0 turnovers, and he's had great stats. This past week, 330 yards, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. Jared Goff is playing his ass off. Jamal Williams is obviously good. Jameson Williams is back. He got Aiden Hutchinson on defense. He got DeAndre Swift, too, questionable, but he's still there, making plays whenever he needs to. Got some, not this past week against Vikings, week before that, he played very well. So the Lions are doing it. Motor City Dan Campbell, they're going to do it. They're going to make the playoffs, and I love it. Just wanted to spit that off real quick. Also, the only pick we're going to brag about, you know what? I'll go in. We'll go and get into our picks before I brag.